Safe room. Safe room. Marcus had always liked bathrooms, not in any strange way, just that they were honest spaces, four walls, a lock on the door, a clear purpose that no one questioned. You could sit in a bathroom for 20 minutes staring at nothing, and when you finally emerged, nobody asked what you'd been doing. They assumed. They gave you privacy. The bathroom in his apartment was small. A toilet, a sink with a rust-stained faucet, a narrow mirror, and a window of frosted glass above the shower. He'd been brushing his teeth when the sound stopped. Not a specific sound, all sound. The ambient hum of the city, traffic, neighbors, the eternal construction on 4th Street, vanished, replaced by something else, something that made his hindbrain curl into a ball. He'd rinsed his mouth, opened the bathroom door a crack, and seen nothing he had words for. The hallway of his apartment building stretched out, but it stretched wrong, like someone had taken reality and twisted it, the walls curving in ways that hurt to look at. The ceiling breathed, not metaphorically, it breathed, a slow rhythm of expansion and contraction, its surface glistening with something that looked like moisture but moved with intention. He'd closed the door, locked it. That was 6 hours ago, or 6 days. Time had gone soft. The thing about being an introvert, Marcus reflected, sitting on the closed toilet lid, was that people always misunderstood it. They thought it was about hating people, about fear, but that wasn't it, not for him. It was about energy. The outside world took. It demanded performance, interpretation, response. Every conversation was a small negotiation, every social interaction a calculation of acceptable behavior. He could do it, had done it for 34 years, but it drained him, left him hollow. Alone he was full, himself, complete, and right now in this 5x8 bathroom he was more himself than he'd ever been. The window had gone dark an hour ago. Not night, something else. The frosted glass showed shapes moving outside, but they didn't move like anything that had ever lived on Earth. Too many angles, too much height. He'd checked his phone, no signal. The screen had shown static for a moment, then resolved into symbols that might have been text in some alphabet designed by something that had never seen a human eye. He'd set it face down on the sink. So, this was it. Either he'd lost his mind, the most reasonable explanation and honestly almost a relief, or the world had ended, changed, become something else while he'd been flossing. And here he was, the last bastion of Marcusness, preserved in tile and porcelain. The first few hours he'd heard screams, distant, muffled. He'd pressed his ear to the door and listened, heart doing something uncomfortable in his chest. The screams didn't sound entirely human, too layered, as if multiple voices were speaking in perfect unison, or like one voice trying to be many. He'd thought about his neighbors, Mrs. Huang in 4B who always smiled too wide, the couple in 5A who fought about money at 2 a.m., the man whose name he'd never learned, who came and went at odd hours and smelled perpetually of cigarettes and something sweet. He'd thought about his mother in Ohio, his sister in Denver, his coworker Dennis who always wanted to grab drinks after work, who didn't seem to understand that Marcus's maybe next time was actually a gentle never. Were they gone, changed, or were they sitting in their own small rooms, doors locked, waiting for an answer that wasn't coming? The screaming had stopped. Now there was only that other sound, the sound the new world made, like breathing, but multiplied. A chorus of inhalations, each slightly out of sync with the others, creating a wavering rhythm that should have been soothing but wasn't. He inventories his resources. One toilet tank full of water, one partially used tube of toothpaste, a bottle of mouthwash, half empty, a disposable razor, a towel, the clothes on his back, boxer shorts, a t-shirt from a 5K he'd walked in 2019, socks. He's survived on less, emotionally if not physically. The mirror shows him his own face, pale, dark circles under eyes that have always been too sensitive to light, a face built for dim rooms and quiet evenings, a face that people read as sad or lonely when really it was just neutral, resting, preserving. "You could stay," he says to his reflection. His voice sounds small in the tile echo. "You could just stay." And he could. For a while, the water in the tank, the safety of the lock. But the door isn't a wall. It's an invitation to remain, but also a promise of something else. The lock works both ways. It keeps things out, but it also keeps him in, keeps him small. Being alone had never felt like prison to him. It felt like freedom. But this was something different. He thought about all the times he'd chosen the quiet path. The party declined, the phone call ignored, the evening spent with a book instead of a person. Those choices had been his, made from a place of strength, of self-knowledge. This wasn't a choice. This was hiding. And Marcus, despite what everyone thought, had never been hiding. He'd been waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right situation, the world where he could be himself without the constant static of other people's expectations. The irony wasn't lost on him. The world had finally changed, become something utterly alien and strange, and his first instinct was to cower in a bathroom. Maybe that's all he was in the end, a creature of small spaces, a man made for shadows. Or maybe he stands. His legs ache from sitting, from tension, from the compression of fear held too long in muscle and bone. He faces the door. The lock is simple, a twist of metal, a mechanism so ordinary it's almost laughable. Will it hold against whatever's out there? Probably not, but that's not the point. The point is that he's holding it closed, his fear, his choice. He's spent his life protecting his energy, guarding his inner world. Not because he was weak, but because his inner world was worth protecting. It was vast in here, thoughts and feelings and imaginings that most people never saw because they never took the time to look. And that's what this is, he realizes. This isn't about fear of the outside world. It never was. And it's about whether he's willing to let the outside world see him. Marcus unlocks the bathroom door. He doesn't open it immediately. He stands with his hand on the knob, breathing. The new world breathes with him, that chorus of inhalations, and for a moment, just a moment, he feels a strange kinship with it. Something else that exists in layers, something that might understand. He opens the door. The hallway is wrong. The walls curve into distances that shouldn't exist, and the ceiling pulses with wet light, and something stands at the far end, a shape that has too many limbs arranged in ways that suggest neither violence nor welcome, only presence. But Marcus steps forward anyway. He's an introvert. He spent his entire life moving through spaces that weren't designed for him, navigating conversations that drained him, existing in a world that demanded he be louder, brighter, more. This is just another space that wasn't designed for him. He's learned how to move through those. One foot in front of the other, he walks into the alien world, carrying his quiet self like a lantern in the dark.